All right. Good day once again, and welcome to another video. All right. So in the last couple of videos, like 2 videos away, we started modeling the doors. The windows. Then we completed the door model, and now we are to move on to the next thing. So from our observation, we have to model the railings, and we also have to model the pergola that goes up here. Then we also have the staircase to worry about. All right, so we're still doing structure, right? So the couches and all those things in the building is not something that we'll look into right now, but you can see how you could model this thing without modeling it in place. You can model in place if you want, all right? So I'm just modeling it outside so I could have it somewhere. I could easily, use it for another project or something of that nature, all right? So looking through a schedule, you'd see that we don't necessarily have a schedule that explains the panel, all right? So, but we can tell that at intervals, we'll have our panel looking like this. And we can see that when we look at the image, right? So what we will do is now this something like this is beautiful to be done with plugins like Profile Builder 4 or Profile Builder generally. But we can't do that right now because that's a paid plugin, right? You have a 30 days trial, but I wouldn't want to introduce you to a plugin that you would get frustrated. It's not a plugin that will frustrate you, right? So, but in my more later on videos, I could use Profile Builder for stuff, but for these videos, I would not, and that's because you're learning. All right, you're learning. I would like to introduce you to something that will make you lazy, and yeah, it's a tool you should use in a professional capacity, right? So that's fine for that. So we're going to be making this as well. This is just a geometry replicated that is wooden, white wood. I think they call it pergola. Sorry, my bad. All right, so I think they call it a pergola, right? So, but we will be modeling this. So this is what we focus in here, this video. All right, so I'm not going to replicate exactly what they have here, but I'm going to try to replicate what they have here. And the reason I'm not going to replicate what they have here is, okay, all right, I will replicate what they have here. All right, so I was looking for the consistency in the stuff, and I almost didn't see one until I looked. I saw there's a long panel, short one, a short panel, a long one, a short panel, a long one. All right, so there is stuff like that. There is a level of consistency. So what I will do is I'll make this a standalone, and I'll make this a standalone component. I'll make this a standalone component, and then we can now combine them to form what we need, right? Right. So let's get started. Okay, so let's see how we will model that. All right, so we're done with this. So I'll just group all that. Right, I usually like closing all this, right? Let's close all that. Close, 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 close. All right. So this is wall, 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 wall. All right. So I'll just group that and call that doors, right? Then I'll just hide that away. All right, so for the next stuff we want to do is this, and the first thing we want to do is to deduce the height, right? So to deduce the height, we can tell that from the ground up to the door, it's this second door here is almost the door handle, right? So I could just go back to my door and go back to the plan. I unhide that, and I just take my tape tool and I measure from the ground up to around this point. That's, we can see it's about a meter. All right, so do 1 meter. All right, we'll do 1 meter for that. All right, so we just use 1 meter for the height. So three major things to look at here. We have the glass panel, we have the metal hole in the glass panel, and then we have the railings, the profile railings that goes all the way through. All right, so it's going to be so easy to make this thing in Profile Builder, but we'll not be doing that. We'll be doing that here. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this posts separate. Yeah, I'm going to make this pole separate, so I'm just going to do this, then um, for the sake of this video, um, let's model. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and having my height. I would usually like to draw a surface, right, so that I could work with something like this. All right, I like doing this so that I can, draw my circles and stuff like that. Right, so we need to now deduce the width of the, right, so we have to deduce this. So this could be 800 and this could be 1000. Thereabout. So this is this door that is 1000, and that door, right, it's almost the same thing. Right, so I say this is 1000 and this is 800, right? So I'm just trying to like guess or deduce, right? So let's do the one of 800 first, right? So what I will need to take note of is we have 1, 2, 3. So this from here to here, I'd say it'd be like 200, 200, 400, then 400 here. No, no, 400 is much. So this is 200, 300, and 300 down. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So I will pick this line from here and I'll get rid of this so that I have total that. Then I'll just push this out a little bit so that I have a level of thickness to work with. All right, so I'm actually not using this box for anything, so I'll just group it. It's just a reference box. All right, so I think I just want to push it back. Start from that line. All right, so just a reference box. So I move this up by 200. Right, I think that's quite high. So I will do 100. All right, then I'll do 200. Then I'll do 200 down. And then my panel goes in here. All right, so for the panel, let me push this down by 25, which is in as well by 25. So this will be the framing that holds the panel, meaning this thing, right? So let's give a space of 100 from that point. 100, let me see, 100 in. I will do that like so. So the first panel is that whole section to be 800, right? So let me actually just draw this out like so. Let me draw this out like so. Right. So I think this is too far out. So that's 50 instead of 100. Then I'll draw this. This is total of 800, so I'll do 700. Ah, 50, then 50. All right, so this will be the panel, the glass panel, right? Then the first profile goes here to this part. All right, so that first profile goes to this part. I will just to, I just draw a line. I just draw a line from that point to this point, this point, this point. Okay, so let me move this. Okay. I want this to come down by, let's do 25. So from this point to this point, then from, all right, I'm sure you're still wondering what I'm doing. All right, so there are different ways to model this, right? I could just go ahead and make a circle and pull it out, or I could go different ways, right? So let me hide this and begin to make use of stuff. All right, so I won't hide this. Instead, I will change this so that I can, right? So I'll push this out a little bit, push it out by 100, so I can draw circles on it, right? So I would draw a radius. So first of all, I'll group this and I'll push it out by 10 for the glass panel, and I'll make a group, right? Then for this, not so thick, I think 25 will be fine for this profile. 25, 25, that should be, let me just use 20, so I'll do a radius of 10. Yeah, I'll push that out. All right, so I'll push that out at that point. And then I'll do the same thing here, a radius of 10. Radius of 10, push that out as well. All right, then same thickness, so another radius of 10. Then I will push and do that, do that. All right, then I'll push this out as well. All right, so for this, I want it to be really thick, so it's going to be this radius, right? So, and I'm going to push this out, right? So you see like how I'm fleshing out what I want, right? So for this right now, I would go ahead and properly place that handle. So I'll just move it in by 100. Okay, I think 100 might be too inward. So I'll do 75. 75. You see how I measure things by sight? I just try to get, the general outlook of things, and I don't want to make it too fancy. I'll just make it rectangular, right? So just like a claw grip that holds it to this metal, but top and bottom, right? So I would just move that out by, let's say 80, right? So I'll do the same here, 80, right? I could model one and then mirror all the way, but it's all left for you. So I'll just move this down by 20, right? I move that up by 20. So I will create a rectangle there and make this 2.5, 2.5. I'll move this up by 2.5 as well. But I'll do a copy push pull, of 2.5, so that it will create the extra piece of geometry, and then I would move this whole thing. Then I'll do another copy push pull of 2.5. Then I would push pull this down by this so that it grips it that way. right? Then I could go ahead and delete this extra piece of lines on the geometry. All right, so that being done, next thing I want to do is all right, so let me just pause and switch my mic before this mic dies on me. All right. All right, so just switch to my mic so your other one is low in battery. All right, so put this to this point, and then I think I want to insert this. Let me insert it by 5. Okay, I'll scale this as well. Let me just scale it real good. Push that off till it intersects. But I want to ensure I group these. Let me group those things, right? Let me group them. Make a group. Make group. All right. Make group. All right. So I can now push this to. Let me just push to hit this. All right. Just touch the bottom. Not a big deal. Nobody's gonna see that. All right. So I can see that this circle is placed, this rectangle and this thing, they're not really aligned to centralized dimension. So I'll just move this. I'll move my stuff to meet up with the circle where it is. So I'm going to green arrow till it touches this line because that's the center. Yep. All right. So. All right. So just going to duplicate this, and I would do a flip. I'll do a flip, right? I'll do a flip. Flip that underneath. All right. So as usual with my flip, I just usually do a rectangle. That enables me to flip it, and I'll just plus flip. Right. Seems like that was not the center point. Seems like that was not the center point. Yep, that's the center point. So I'll draw my rectangle, enable me flip. All right, so flip that perfectly, and generally speaking, I'm actually majorly done with the shape. All right, so this is going to be a mirror kind of stuff. So I'll call it panel glass grip, right? Panel glass grip, panel glass. So I'll call this bottom profile 1, and then bottom profile 2, and then top profile 1. Okay, so just name this all the way. I mean, why not? It's not like the computer is crying that it doesn't have space to contain the name. Then all right, so I'm skeptical about doing this, right? So but I'll explain why, and I'm gonna do Y as well, so I'm just gonna group this. Right, I'm just gonna call it top profile. But when I get to where I would place it, you understand why I didn't really want to name it when I begin to explain. All right, so materials. So under materials, let's go to glass and look for a mirror material. All right, so let's find a glass mirror material. All right, let's put that right there. So that's translucent gray glass. All right, so let's use a mirror. I think that translucent gray glass is is just perfect for the door, right? So that being said, on the metal, I will use aluminium for this. Then I'll just use this for this, guys. All right, so one more thing remains. All right, so the remaining thing here is the vertical support, right? That vertical support, and right, so this is the ground plane, right? So I'll group that so that's just a reference point. Then I okay, this is not correctly placed. This is supposed to end right here along this line. Likewise, this is supposed to end there. All right, so I want an overlapping to happen. So that's 10. I'll do this by 15. And then I'll push pull this till it gets to the middle of this guy, right? So I'll group that and I'll call this the vertical. All right, so you see where I stopped it because of this top one, right? Because this top one is supposed to go all through non-stop till it gets to the. So I would love to do a follow me for that. So I think what I will do is I will scrap this from this, from making, when I make this a component, right? I'm just going to include the poles like so, and I'm going to exclude this. All right, so, and the reason I'm excluding it, I'm just making it specifically for this project. So if I wanted to use it in a profile builder, I wouldn't exclude that. I would just make it a profile. But for the sake of the all right, for the sake of how I want it to flow, right? For the sake of how I want it to flow, all right, I think I see what's going on there. That's that line. A line is being included into the group, so it's extending, right? So that is that. So we have the 800, right? So this is 800, and then we need to do that for the 1000, right? So 1000. So first things first, I'll select all this and call this, make this a component, right? I'll call this rail 800. Call this rail, and I'll just put it in bracket 800. Rail 800, right? Then what I'll go ahead to do is to save, and I would just create a duplicate, right? I'd create a duplicate in the same position, and then hide that one and make unique, and then I'll call this 1000, right? So what is the difference? I want to move this from right where it is standing to right here. Right, so move that there. Push pull this. Push pull this to that line. Same thing. Same thing here. And this guy, all right, so we want the distance from here to here to remain. That should be 50. And from there to this point is approximately 75, right? So we want that to remain. So what would happen is from this point, we'll move 50. So what that would mean is it should move by 50 along. It should move not by 50, it should move from that point to this point, this line. All right. So I'll just use push pull to align that. Then this 75 should be from here. It should now move to meet up with this point. All right, so that's all. That's all, right? Now you notice I only put this one here and I didn't put another one here. All right, so I will just be doing some proprietary fixing when I get to that. So since this is here, this is all I need for the railings, right? Is all I need, right? So I could just delete all the guides and I'm done with the rails, right? So when I get to the model, when I start fixing the rails, then I would use a follow me tool to make this to follow through one straight run. Then for the other side, one will be fixed to the wall and the rest will now be repeating on it. All right. So, but when we get there, we'll deal with that. All right. So before I close this video to start modeling pergola, I will have to do model in place for the pergola because the pergola is not something I can reuse somewhere else. All right. So when I'm done with the model in place for the pergola, then I will go ahead and place the doors and windows. When we're done placing doors and windows in the house, then we'll go ahead and model the staircase, right? So the staircase will be the last thing in this video before we start talking about texturing, right? Texturing, of course, we've started touching things there, but I want to talk about it specially, right? So that you understand some concepts properly, right? So next thing we're going to do now is to go ahead and add some reference stuff. All right, what do I mean by that? So you're currently inside this railing. I just want to go ahead and add a reference box, right? So this is good, this is good, this is good. So I want to add a reference box. Why do I want to do that? Now, I want to do that because it'll be difficult for me to move these things accurately when it doesn't have a bounding box. All right, so I will just draw a rectangle. I'll draw a rectangle, right? I'll cover the entire foot of this and I'll cover its entire height towards this direction. All right, and why am I doing that? To enable proper movement, right? So I'll delete this. I'll delete the feel of that. I'll delete the feel of this. And I'll just leave that. All right. So what that will do is to enable me when I want to move it, I have good reference points to use. So I can click here, I can click here, I can get the middle, all right? I can easily get the edge of this to move it. You see how? Because when I want to render, these things won't show, right? They won't actually show those things. right? So you see how it's easy now for me to move this around, right? So those things won't show when you're rendering, right? It might make your model look weird, but it won't show during rendering, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and add another for this guy. I'm just gonna locate that point. Then I will locate this point as well, and then I'll locate this point as well. All right, so I'll just go inside the component and draw the rectangle all through, then draw this one all through. Right, so I can't draw that yet. I have to add a guide. So I added the guide along this line. That's actually how I was able to snap onto it before. I didn't draw a guide, it won't snap. I click on it and use my move tool as a guide. That's why I just double clicked with the tape tool to put a guide there. All right, I have to explain these things sometimes before someone is like, I'm trying to click it, it's not working, it's not working. Yeah, you have to pay attention to the things I do, right? So you don't get lost, right? So you can see it's easier for me to place this now using this thing, right? It's easy for me to place it, right? So if I want to just briefly illustrate, I pick it up from here and I duplicate and I put this right there. You see how just quickly I already have stuff going on right there. See that? See that? And if I really wanted to place this, if I wanted to place this well, I would want this to be halfway in. So if I click on this and I lock it on the green axis and do it halfway in by clicking on this point there. You see that? So it's easy for me to navigate and I can tell it's easy for me to move it around and stack it up with these guidelines. It's not going to show on your rendering to be showing in your SketchUp, but most of the times it doesn't show. Right? This is how I usually like modeling my components because it makes it easy to move around in your model. Right? So that's that. We're done with the railings. All right, so in the next video, so that's that for the two railings. So the next video, we're going to begin modeling the we're just going to start modeling the what do you call that? So I'm just going to make a group. So I'll group it with that, and I'll call that rails. Rails. All right. So the next video, we're just going to jump into the model, and we'll place our windows and our doors, and we'll do the railings. All right. So we'll start with the railings, then we'll go ahead and place windows and doors. All right. So thank you so much. Please hit the like button and subscribe. See you in the next video. All right. Thank you so much.